Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So great to see each one of you. Let's just go around the table and introduce.
My name is Randy Williams, and I'm the co-owner of Robinson Williams Restoration and Hope Community Center at 1510 Elm Street.
My name is Christy Fleming. I run the Lighthouse Homeless Shelter here in town. And Anderson is my great support and landlord.
I'm Clarence Hawkins, retired, and principal in FOCOA, Fulfilling Opportunities Coalition of Louisiana.
I'm Kay King with Morehouse Economic Development, and I work in bringing companies into the community.
Betty Olive, Mayor.
Melvin D. Anderson, retired principal in Morehouse Parish, owner of Southside Multipurpose Center.
Ora Evans, owner of the Evans Second Chance Center, retired educator, works 3 days a week. I love what I'm doing.
Mark Moore, Community Outreach.
We're here today to talk about the owners who have purchased schools. And I just really want to salute each one of you that you stepped out, you were brave. Schools that close oftentimes just leave a hole in the community. But you all were brave enough to step out and say, I'm going to buy this and see what we can do to help in the community. So this is an informal conversation. We're going to have it posted on our website, and we trust that a lot of people will take a look at this video. And also we're going to have pictures posted of the facilities and the upgrades that you have made to them. We want to get ideas of how we can help you and tell us about your location and what we can do, what are the demographics in your specific location, what do you think will fit. And we will also look for grant opportunities as they become available. Of course, we know there are stipulations with grants, but we will look and see what fits the criteria. So with that being said, I want anybody to just jump in and feel comfortable. But before I say that, our former Mayor Clarence Hawkins was the USDA director, so he comes to us with a wealth of information of possible available opportunities that we could pursue. And Kay King, Economic Development, so she comes to us with the technical assistance of facilities and what people are looking for. So just jump in. This is very informal. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first. I have no problem.
Okay, Randy. That's good.
Again, my name is
Okay. Oh, facing me. Okay.
My name is Randy Williams, and I'm the co-owner of Robinson Williams Restoration and Hope Community Center. And our focus, not necessarily within the community of on Elm Street side, or across town, or across Elm is what we call it a lot. But our goal is to bring awareness to the community concerning healthy eating, opportunities to try to pursue whatever it is that they want to do. We want to give them an opportunity to come to our center and have a place to go where they can utilize our community library, where they can use our facility to birthday parties, class reunions. They can use it also for repast. And the purpose of that is to generate funds for our community center so we can keep things going in the community. Another thing, we have a community garden that we're going to allow the public to rent a plot where they can grow their own fruits and vegetables. And maybe one day we can have a farmer's market where we could provide fruits and vegetables for that side of town where people don't have transportation to come in town to utilize the farmer's market here. We've got support from LSU Ag. We got support from the Power Corp, where they just purchased us a convection oven for our taste test. We do taste tests once a month for kids to try these foods that they think that, hey, that's nasty or whatever. So we do those things for them and for the adults. We also have a food pantry where we give food out the first Saturday, actually the second Saturday of the month. and we just had one just recently. Right now, we're up to like 77 families. Last year, we fed over 540 families, or people, I should say. And we're just excited about the possibilities on that side of town. We definitely would love the support of the city, love the support of our parish, because I think this is a unified thing that one person cannot do it all by themselves. And if we have a lot of knowledge in the community, a lot of knowledge in the city, and we just need to use that, and if everyone just pitch in, it'll be a whole lot better for everybody.
Randy, how many rooms do you have?
Well, right now, we're only authorized 4,000 square foot, unless we had an architect review to come out and do the planning or the drawing of the facility, which we just recently just had done. So we're waiting back the result for that, but right now we have 1, 2, 3 rooms available for rent. And actually, we have another nonprofit organization called For the Girls, who utilize one of the rooms for working with the kids, and I think her name is Shanika Hatfield. So she's doing that for the girls. We had Jackie Hostin, who was doing physical fitness at the center. But we want to try to get more rooms available for people who want to try to start out a business and come in and really try to get it going. And then once they get it going, then they can move on to if they want their own spot, or they can continually rent from us. But our goal is just try to help people help themselves. But of course, we can't continue to do, we do a lot of things for free, and my board kind of get on me about that, because we're not in the business of making money, but we need to be able to make money to where we can keep on going.
Yeah, sustainability.
Sustainability, that's what we need. And we want to thank former Representative Fred Jones, who got us a $10,000 grant to renovate our boys and girls bathroom. And this grant is being provided through the Louisiana Center Against Poverty. So we're in partnership with those guys, and they come and rent our building too for different types of events that they sponsor to help us out. And I think, like I said, if we just work together, man, you can just vision what we would be in the next 4 or 5 years if we all work together.
Did you keep the kitchen there, or did you?
Yes, I have a kitchen. I modified it to be a home type environment in the kitchen.
Okay.
And like I said, we just got that convection oven through the Power Corp, where matter of fact, we get it delivered Saturday, and I'm super excited about that. And they want to come to our next taste test, and they want to see the oven in action. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. So it sounds like you're moving in a direction of how to use the facility you purchased.
Right. Well, we wanted to do after-school tutoring and stuff like that because it was much needed, but COVID kind of put a hindrance in that process. So we had to rethink what we were going to do, and that's where we came up with the food pantry.
Okay.
So we can still serve people because they don't have to get out. They can just drive through where the bus drop off the kids, just drive through the roundabout. We hand them their food, and they can keep on going. So that was one of the things that we did to try to kind of restructure what we do. We also want to do a community walking fitness trail, and we're in the process of trying to get some funding available for that. We're also going to do a basketball court, and this court, see, it's going to be a twist. It's going to be a colorful court with nice goals where kids will want to play on it, but in order for them to play on our court, they're going to attend our life skill training. They're going to attend our etiquette training. They're going to attend our financial training because we're going to have Origin Bank is going to come in and do some classes for me. I already talked to Billy there, and they're going to come in and do some financial training with us for the kids. So these kids will have a better idea of how to manage their money, how to stay fit, and more importantly, how to work together. So that's where we are right now.
Oh, that is wonderful. Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
And listening to that and your experience with USDA, what do you see in terms of ideas for Randy?
It's amazing. Potential is there, and this potential is universal. Randy and I have been talking about a project that I personally am involved in. United States Department of Agriculture has many program areas, I was with the division called Rural Development, which was the lender and small grantor for housing, for businesses, for nonprofit organizations, for schools, hospitals, cities, the whole 9 yards. But there's another division, and I have personally taken advantage of the knowledge that I acquired while I was there to, and this ties into one of the things that you talked about, you and I've been talking about, is addressing the fact that Bastrop and Morehouse Parish are in a food desert, and that community, the Elm Street community, is in the middle of a food desert, where in other areas, the distance from the residence to a grocery store is not that great, but it is an obstacle here. Access to fresh food, fresh fruits, dairy is a problem. I know you have a store at the corner of Elm and Collinsman Road, but in order to get fresh fruit in that neighborhood, someone has to go out to Bastrop Superfood or Walmart or wherever. One division of USDA, well, it's really two, out of the extension, across from the extension office, the USDA office, there are two agencies in there. One is called Farm Services Agency, and the other one is NRCS. USDA is big on initials. Natural Resources Conservation Service. They have a program called the High Channel Program, and it encourages individuals and entities to do season extensions on growing fresh fruits and vegetables. Through that, it's a partial grant. You can get a facility, a building that you can grow crops in the ground year-round. I applied for it and I received a grant for it, paid for part of it. And I have a 70 by 32 foot building on my property that I'm growing vegetables in right now. And it piqued my interest because I'm going to have more vegetables than I need, that I'm going to personally consume. And when you talked about you have kitchens and your way, might be another source that I can direct some vegetables to you. So right now, my winter crops in, I have broccoli, cabbage, kale, chard, lettuce. Right now, my tomatoes are gone. I'm in the process of, when I get home today, I'm going to be starting my seeds for tomatoes and all kinds of stuff. So that's one area as a nonprofit you can apply for a grant. It won't pay for everything to build, and you have abundance of land out there. They'll even provide for irrigation because it's enclosed. Rain is not going to get in there. You got to have a way of irrigating it. Blends into your community garden piece. That's funding for that. USDA Rural Development also has a program that you might investigate. The city of Bastrop took advantage of it under the Cotton administration, where they got a grant to do a study for the aquaponics thing out at the old Jordache building. But there are various studies that you can participate in. And it's just a matter of sitting down with these agencies and asking them, okay, this is what we're doing. What do you do to accentuate what we have going on? And housing, and this is a generic thing, and will be applicable to Mr. Anderson and to you, and I don't know if you enter into it. One of the things that I've talked about, and Kay and I have talked about this as well, these schools that have been closed have the backbone. It would take some investment, and this happened in other areas. Well, there's a perfect example just down the street of converting those facilities into housing. Converting them into housing. Those rooms are what, about 30 by 30 or whatever?
Yeah.
Envision a classroom converted into a single one-bedroom apartment, in some cases maybe two-bedroom. You would have to reroute the plumbing, make them self-contained. They're separated. You might have to change the entry, the outside entry, or have a common hallway and make single bedroom apartments out of it to accommodate elderly and or homeless, if that's what you want to do, or whatever. You can't get certificates for nursing homes anymore. But depending on how your investments went, you could also make it an assisted living facility. And get an architect to draw it up, say, this is our infrastructure. How can we make this accommodating for apartments? And the need for affordable, decent housing is great in Bastrop and Morehouse Bay. And I were talking about one of the ventures that she's in. Maybe she'll talk about it later on, but the solar industry is coming into Bastrop. You know what I'm talking about?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. The solar industry is coming in, and there are at least maybe two potential facilities that would be built. These facilities aren't going to produce a lot of ongoing jobs, but during the construction period, I think about 300 jobs per site.
It'll vary from when it starts, and it'll probably peak at around 300 jobs per site, and hopefully they won't both peak at the same time.
And I'm just doing some unofficial investigation to see what agency or entity can provide some temporary housing for the construction that happens here. So those are the kinds of things that USDA Rural Development can do, and HUD and other agencies, but you're gonna have to create a vision, or just go and sit down and talk to an agency and say, I have a 30-room facility that's structurally sound, but it might need some modification. What in your bag can potentially be done with this facility, and go for there. After school tutoring and recreation stuff is good, but look for something that's more long-term. You piqued my interest as well when you start talking about people wanting to come in. I know, Ms. Evans, you have several entrepreneurs in your building. And we've talked about over the years, Kay and Betty, when you were mayor on council, we talked about incubators. Incubators, and it might be an incubator that's more specific than industrial incubators or warehouse. It might be, we were talking about online stuff a while ago, people doing stuff, Ms. Floyd, about doing stuff virtually. You were talking about work from home stuff. Those are the kinds of facilities. Your facilities are the kinds of environments that people who work from home or who want to operate a virtual business can rent space from and function there.
You're absolutely right, and I don't mean it, I just want to introduce this part here, is that the exact same thing I've done for an individual who was trying to work from home but didn't have a computer set up. So I allowed them to come into the center, and again, I hope my board don't forgive me, but I let them do this for free because I want them to give the opportunity to try to help themselves. So that's basically what our community center is about, is helping others prosper through empowerment. And that's in our namesake, like HOPE, that's what HOPE stands for. So we allowed them to come in, get situated, learn how to do the job that they want to do, and I also let them take a monitor, which I can't do for everybody, but let them take a monitor home, and they set it up at home, and now they've been working from home for the last 4 months now. So that's something.
Do any of you use the Small Business Administration very much? SBA?
Well, we have got a $10,000 grant from those guys.
I need to share with you.
We did get one for 6,000 also, small business.
Well, Lindora Baker is one of the advocates, outreach people for SBA, and then they have an SBA center over at ULM. I suggest that you really tap into their knowledge base, get them to come and talk to you about not necessarily funds for you, but how can your facility be used, and maybe a network to be made to find out what small business people in the community that need a facility and need the resources that you have.
That's a great idea. I majored in business at ULM, And one of our projects in the business class, we did small business plans. We were graded on that. So that's another avenue of getting a business plan done, is through the internship of students. But let's cut away for a minute and hit one of the other owners. Melvin, you or Ora, which one y'all wanna jump in on since you acquired facilities?
When I first purchased Southside, it was stipulated that we would try to open up the school. That's one of the main things you
Got a
said. So,
non-compete clause, right?
and so a lot of our activities, we have to keep that in mind. But we realized that the school system, with the remediation and the after-school classes, they already know how to do that. So we kind of leave that up to them because they know how to do it. But as far as giving them students a place to come after school and do some other activities, like we have some games that we play. We're in the process of, by me being a music teacher, I'm going to start some band classes. So that'll give them a chance to not only just come out there for the tutoring, the academics, but they get a chance to participate in some other activities. So we change it from one day to the next day. It's a different situation.
Mm-hmm. You know, with your facility being in proximity to the hospital, do you see any spin-off or any ideas y'all have that he's close to the hospital? What could be a usable function?
I haven't been able to see it really right now.
Okay.
How will we able to tap into the
Uh-huh.
hospital? Other than maybe Reverend Christie, do you have any way that you tap it into the hospital?
Well, it's very convenient when we have somebody who's sick to be able to walk them over there.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Real close.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as, it would be good if we could get some, maybe them to come over and do some, screening for different, tests, you know. That's something we think about in the future.
What do you think, Kay?
Well, I see, one of the opportunities that I see on the horizon, one of the things I had identified, one of the things that I had identified as a prospective business sector was mental health. We're gonna see that through the COVID, we're seeing a lot of money come into mental health programs. We're gonna obviously see increased demand for this. And so mental health, and then Clarence Hawkins and I have talked many times about the need for housing, that if a lot of children are, once they get out of foster care, they age out of foster care, they have no support system when they age out of foster care. We have need for temporary housing or farms. I've been working with a farmer who wants to bring people in for a couple of weeks. Well, you can't have your facility sit empty for 50 weeks just because you're going to use 2 weeks out of the year to house people for a certain job that they're coming into. But if we could ever look at how we could develop this high tonal farming issue, kind of project a different image for the community with locally grown vegetables, and we could get a series of crops, then maybe we could fill a facility for an acceptable amount of time during the year. But I do see the need for housing is continuing to grow, and that's not for the 3-bedroom house, that's for people that just need a place to stay, and that's affordable while they get back on their feet. And so the mental health counseling and things like that could be combined with a facility that might smooth out the cash flow for that facility. If you could get a couple things in there to support the housing and with some other funding coming in from counseling and rehabilitation.
I've noticed also that with the homeless, for some reason, there seems to be a real connection of mental health. You know, they're not only homeless, but they just, the mental part, if we can address that, then they could improve as far as the housing and everything else.
So if you could combine some kind of mental health counseling in your facility as a business
Yes,
that could bring money into it, then that would, number one, provide support in close proximity to where you have the people. And you could also generate some money to run your facility. And that's one of the issues that I've seen with the business incubators and things that we've looked at. We can get the money for repairs and doing a nonprofit, but you gotta have the money to sustain it. And that is, from what I had estimated, maybe $150,000 a year just to do basic, you know, picking up the trash, spraying for bugs, insurance.
Repairs.
Just very basic
repairs.
things.
Because
So
they
that
constantly,
would-
they constantly tearing it up.
That would come out of the grant money, things you're
Well,
saying.
that's the thing that I run into on these grants, is that you can get the money for the facility one time, but then in your community, you have to figure out how to generate money to maintain it. So
Okay.
what's happened in some of the incubators that I've visited is that they'll have somebody that's successful, and they'll let them stay in the business incubator, and then they pay a market rent, and then they can cash flow those. It's very expensive to run one of these.
I used to work with a group that had the incubators, and they were really, some of them came out very, very well, and that was in Shreveport, I think that was. But it was a successful thing for me when I, after the results of it, people went out and started new jobs, and I don't know how much money was involved because I wasn't working with that, but it was very successful for one in Shreveport. They started their own thing.
Yeah, well, I've looked at having a desk. There's one
That's
down
all they
in
had was
Monroe
a desk,
that they'll have a desk and a computer,
They did.
and they can rent a space. They call it co-worker.
Yeah.
Co-workers.
Small area. wasn't
Because
it?
you've got maybe several different people working
Yeah.
in those areas.
One of the problems I would imagine that those of you on buildings have is being sure that your building meets the minimum standards that are required by entities that provide funds, right? You gotta be sure it's architectural sound, meeting all kind of OSHA and safety and hazardous stuff and all that kind of thing, so I can see having, well, going back to something the mayor said, you gotta have a business plan that tells what you're gonna do and show the revenue that you're gonna generate in order to support funding and eligibility. But in the business plan, I guess, could also include the retrofitting of the building to accommodate. So, very interesting. One thing, you mentioned mental health. Is your program strictly for homeless, or is it a senior program as well? And I'm thinking about senior daycare. I don't know what the requirements are to have a senior daycare facility, just like infant daycare where babies are dropped off. A lot of seniors in Bastrop live alone. They might not see anybody else for days on end unless they go to church, and especially with COVID, they're not going out. But in many communities, there are senior daycare facilities where people are either brought in or come in and stay all day. A lot of council on agents do this, and they play games, they have reading, they have Bible class, they have activities and all. And I'm not sure if insurance covers it, or sometimes they, out of their own resources, they're able to afford that. Your buildings, as I appreciate it when I think about them, can be perfect for that kind of situation.
Well, that's one of the things that I've had. I used to live at the historic Bastrop Apartment, and I met a lot of elderly people there that wanted to know, well, when you open your.
You ain't elderly, how you do that?
It's not just that.
Contacts, okay? They want to know, when am I going to do the bingo? 'Cause that's one of the things I wanted to do for them, just to get them out of their apartment. And I've had something where I've just gotten them out. They came over to the center, and we played a card game, dominoes, and I want to get a bingo machine so we can do bingo. And that way, like you say, gives them an opportunity to get away, come out, and feel useful.
And I don't wanna, please don't interpret, I'm trying to provide or present competition for the Morehouse Council on Aging.
No. They
You gotta be careful about
self-sustained.
Yeah,
They self-sustained.
because they've been a donor to me also, council, so I want to make sure.
And their hours of operation and activities that they offer, you know, maybe if one of the new owners here want to pick up, and that would not be in conflict. But you know what I'm hearing, and we got to hear from you or on your project. How are you different? It sounds like you have a distinct direction that you're going in, Randy. And when I listen to you, Melvin, it sounds like you're headed in a direction, the mental health, the proximity to the hospital, just the wellness of the community. That sounds like a direction. And then, or we're gonna let you tell about your facility, and then we'll get into the meat of that. But am I making sense with that? Each center define that you're not duplicating, but you have a distinct.
Niche.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Well, one thing we do, we communicate. We
Okay.
talk to
We
each
do,
other.
we really do.
We share information, and that's what we need to get out of this.
We're not
Holding on to
competing.
themselves.
We're not competing
We
against
happen
each
each
other.
other probably, huh?
That's
You
great.
know, if I got a good idea, then I share it, and same thing.
That's great. That's
Can I,
great.
before we go further, all of you 501c3 or you LLCs or what is your?
Yeah, Untitled.
Investigate. I know you'd love to get free money, grants, but as Kay has said already, and you know this, grants are for specific purposes.
That's true.
And they're one time. Get it one time, and then governments and entities and corporations and philanthropic organizations say, okay, this is one of our missions, and we want to help you, and they give you seed money. Those are my planning, so seed money. So we expect you to nurture it, grow it, and get it kicked off from there. So keep that in mind, and think of, as Ms. Olive said, think about what your purpose is, and try to find entities that are have a similar focus, and tap into those.
Could I talk a little bit about the Small Business Development Center at UOM? You made a reference to that.
That's good. Let's,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
we're gonna do a summary.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah, well,
Okay.
it'll tie into what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, good, thank you. I'm Ora Evans, and my building is called the Evans Second Chance Center, and you'll be surprised how I got that name. Everybody wonder, Ora, why did you name it something else? I'll tell you, I used to work at Swanson Correction Center, and they had some puppies, dogs, and they were dogs that nobody wanted. So what they did, the name of the building, Second Chance, didn't it? I got it from the dogs. Why I said that building with the resource center building and school board office was just going down. It was just going down, and homeless people living in which they need a place to live, not that. So I was trying to decide what would I do with it. I didn't know we were going to get in Ralph Dunford. I could tell he called me and said, "Oh, you got your building." I said, "What am I going to do with a building now?" And I thought about the puppies. He and I worked together with that. I said, I'm going to name that deal Evans Second Chance. And that is how it got its name. But what we're doing in our building, we had rented out office space a lot, and it just didn't work out. It wasn't the best thing to do for that building. The school board office, we have 3 buildings. So what we decided to do is, I talked to Mr. Mayor Mailer about this. I thought an incubator area would be good, and Mr. Hawkins mentioned also about drop off for adults. And, you know, people do get tired of sitting at home, and people keeping their parents and things. They can drop off and do things that you were saying, keep them busy. So I thought about that in the school board office. But for the Chapter 1 building, Title 1 building, Resource Center, it's busy all the time, all the time. I wanted to work only 3 days a week because I'm my age. I work just about every day, every day. They know me and they call. They rent it out for church service. One is come to church every first and third Sunday. Churches have their banquets there. It hold about 100 people, but I never put 100 people there. I put about 65 or 70 and stop. But it's ready for baby showers, weddings. It's just busy all the time. So it keeps me busy, and it's probably good that I'm 84. But we just have the school board office a problem that I have no problem with. How can we use it? It's not being successful just sitting there.
Mhm.
I would like to think about you might class, I would like to think of some things in a way we can make it better.
Mhm.
But it's very, very busy place, and it's called the Evan Second Chance, and it came from the puppy, Swanson.
How many
That's my
offices
story.
do you have, Ms. Evans?
I mean, what?
How many offices in that
Oh,
building?
boy, I think it's 8, Clarence,
Is
about
that
8
right?
offices in the school board office, about 8. And it's an office over where I am, but my pastor has office space there, so it's not in office space but the resource center area.
Okay.
But they all of these at the school board office. It's about 8, and it has a lounge, it's good, and the restroom, they are kind of old, you know, but they are being used, and it's
Mhm.
clean, it's not dirty.
Mhm.
So that is my story.
That's just, you know what, the unique thing about your facility is that you're on a main thoroughway
That's great. Mhm.
and in a well-lighted area.
Mhm.
And in a perfect world, if you had all 8 offices occupied and a secretary that's was hired, that each vendor in your building would pay a contribution towards that person.
Let me
Well,
add one more thing.
Okay.
We have a computer room. We have the software ready for it. And we've been looking at a grant to see if we get the junior college to come. We can do some teachers there, and they can teach GE, get the high set and everything, but it's not being used right now.
Okay.
We started off with it, but it can help people get the high set. And it's up to date too, it is.
Oh, great. I just had an idea to pop in my head. I've developed a real strong working relationship with Dr. Esters. In fact, tomorrow we will be signing our agreement for the community college. But one day, I will get him, and we can just go on a tour of what you have in your facilities, and in that he is in education. What kind of job? What kind of training? What do y'all think about it? If he tours and see what kind of facilities, then we can start training people
Yeah.
for what's contemporary now. And Kate, we're gonna wrap it up, but let's hear from Mark. He's community outreach. When I say wrap it up, I don't mean to put a time constraint on anybody, but you know, in summary, after hearing everybody, from your perspective as a young barber, give us your ideas of what you think is needed in a community.
Most definitely, everything Mr. Randy, Mr. Evans said is needed. What they're doing is needed. We need more stuff, more things for the kids. Mostly the young men, something for them to do. I appreciate y'all for giving them that opportunity. There's just so much we can do. We just got to put it out there for them to do it. They're running around here, you know, get involved in different things, but we have something for them to do. Maybe we can pull some of them in.
That's a great idea. Okay.
Yeah, and
Now,
this is very brief.
No, you take your time.
Very, very brief, but if you have people that want to start a business, and I have people call my office and they want to start a business and they don't know how to go about it, then I send people all the time to the ULM Small Business Development Center. They have a little incubator there on the ULM campus. It's different than the university. And they keep up with all the grants that are available and all of the programs that people can tap into. And they have in the past done a lot of marketing research for people. Say somebody has an idea of something they want to do, and they can pull up how many other people in the area are doing something similar. And all of that is free. It is free to the public. So by all means, tell people if they're thinking about, they have an idea for business, go there, they'll help them do their business plan, they'll help them do research, and as I said, that is what they do, so they keep up with all the grants and everything that's available.
How do you get in touch with them?
I'm gonna send some information. I've got the contact information at my office, but you could probably just Google it, the Small Business Development Center at ULM, and that'll probably come up. But I've got some phone numbers and things. But because of COVID, we've been kind of isolated for a few years. But that is a great resource, and it's free.
Let me make a comment also. We just got a grant from Southern University to open up a telemedication where you can come in and talk directly to the doctors. So we're in the process of getting that started, but we've already gotten a grant from Southern University.
That's great.
Put that in the Southside Center.
Okay, talk. You know what, when I was on the hospital board, there was a lot of talk about that, you know, easing people into that, because they are used to seeing the doctor face to face, but it's gaining more popularity to do the, and that probably is a spinoff from this COVID,
Yep.
that you couldn't go in to see it, so it's probably been promoted. Mr. Hawkins, Tanya, does Tanya do any
My doctors too, it took me forever to get to see Dr. K.
Uh-huh.
Many doctors prefer doing a telemedicine visit rather than the personal visit. Yep.
Yeah, they'll be able to come to the center.
Let me ask
We
you.
already have the equipment, just a matter of putting it in place.
Help me with this, and whoever can answer. What all does the Delta, what skill sets and training do they provide out there?
They're still doing welding. There's a big welding program. They are doing the high set, and a lot of it is nursing.
They do the MA, medical assistant training thing,
I don't know about the medical CNA right now.
certified medical, certified
yeah.
nurses assistant.
They're doing CNA programs when, as Mayor Olive referenced, whenever we get this new facility that's gonna go in the old IP training center, and the city is graciously making that available to them for, time period. They're gonna do a simulated hospital there. So while most of their training currently is related to the healthcare industry, they have a great new director named Antonio Hearn, and he's been talking with me, and they have some short courses that are available there for people to learn how to operate heavy equipment and things, phlebotomy and different things that are offered in short courses. And so many times a young person can go and do that for 2 weeks, a month, or 6 weeks into a program that they can immediately go out and have that they've received this construction training and get jobs. So that's the goal. And I've been working with Mr. Hearn on trying to expand a little bit more to be available other than just medical, but that is important to us. We have 4 nursing homes, an adolescent behavioral hospital, number of clinics, the community health, so there's huge demand for medical personnel here. But
So they do medical training, they do welding, do they still do business?
yes, they do have some business classes in there.
And what else?
In the high set, the GED program.
High school diploma.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So as we talk about training and bringing people in, a couple of things I'm thinking about. Those of you who are going to be doing stuff in the medical area, I would suggest that you get in touch with the new medical school over in Monroe and ask them about if they need their students to do field work. Let them know that you available to have some of their students who are in medicine to come to your facility to give medical?
Yeah. That's what we did with our health fair. We had Delta Community College send those students over to get blood pressure testing and all those types of things.
Yeah.
So-
But the medical school might be a higher level.
Yes.
They might be, they would welcome having been able to give exams on real patients. On real patients. I lost my thought, but the other thing, and I heard you mention Otis Hill, utilize the federal agencies that are around, because it's their job to come out to do cooking schools, to do nutritional services, to do exams and give information to the homeless populations that might be visiting your facility. Call the federal offices and say, okay, we're in this community and we need you to come and share with us what it is that you do. This is a little known secret. When the federal government changes out equipment, computers and things like this, they either have to send it back to the warehouse, or if there's an eligible entity, they can donate to you computers and equipment, like those computers, especially laptops, desktops, and things of that nature. So you might want to get in touch with the area federal offices, the SBA office out there, or in Monroe, or wherever, and say, okay, we are a nonprofit in Bastrop, Louisiana, and this is what our purpose is, this is our 501(c)(3) EIN number and the rest of that, and we'd like to be made aware of how can we take advantage of your surplus properties program.
Yeah, I did that with Accent of Monroe. We got a lot of bookshelves from Brady Militant, and also we got monitors.
What is Accent?
That's a healthcare type of thing.
But this is directed from the federal government, though. So, yeah, private
Yeah, we
entities.
got those things from them. If they do the HIPAA law, they couldn't give us the the hard drive themselves, but they would give us furniture and stuff like that, so. That's what I'm checking it out.
I guess I need to ask a different question. I want to know, I haven't heard from you, say what you're doing, but I'm trying to see how you get into your program, because they visit me a lot, you know. How did you get into her program? Were you intending to call on her?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And, I was looking at both.
I've been watching it, yeah, but I want to be sure, because we're neighbors, that's why I said that.
Okay.
How people get into our program? They walk in the gate. I meet with them, confirm their situation, and that's how they get into the program.
Okay.
Very simple.
They're my friends too, that's why I asked that question.
What's your definition of homeless?
Yes.
Person who doesn't have a place to spend the night in that.
Because homelessness in Bastrop, in rural America, is different from the homelessness that you see on the streets in Washington, D.C., New York City, big cities where people are sleeping in doorways and all that,
Right.
sleeping in cars.
Yeah.
There are so many homeless folks, people who do not have a home of their own, but they're staying with cousin so-and-so tonight, or
There you
so-and-so
go.
over here
There you
tonight,
go.
and you see them walking around with a plastic bag or walking down the street.
Right.
They do not have a home. They're not sleeping on the street, but they don't have a home of their own, and they're depending on their friends and neighbors and family members to sleep. In some cases, they'll go up in churches and they'll go in empty buildings and stuff like that, but most of them have some connection, because we're very sympathetic and empathetic people, and we'll accommodate folks. So your definition is very general. If they don't have a place to sleep,
They sleep too?
don't.
And what you said is absolutely right. You know, I was the spiritual director for the homeless in San Diego and San Francisco. And it is a very, very different situation there. And I've had to learn a lot here about the reality of a small community as opposed to a big city.
The interesting part about that, and it's interesting that you said that, Mr. Hawkins, about the different definitions of homelessness. And people tend to think of it as folks living on the streets, but it's not. And I used to do the research when I worked in Bastrop Parish. There is as many as 1 in 5 people that are homeless when you think about people who live double up and triple up
Right,
because they cannot afford to live on their own. So they share the expenses and live together, but they don't really have the privacy. So you got that aspect of homelessness. You got that other aspect of homelessness of people who are just destitute almost, that you got to get them off the streets and put them somewhere. Then you have the transitional folks who are trying to make it. So there are so many phases of it.
There really are. And there's been a challenge to get the social work support that we need in Bastrop. And that's one thing that I've been working on. Wellspring here is not able to help us. And Wellspring in Monroe has helped quite a bit. But we're still in the process of pulling those kinds of things. But in general, I'm grateful that we have a place for them to come and get some meals. Did get a grant for $10,000 to open an overnight shelter, but we're still waiting to do that officially. We need to have security.
That's good.
Well, we have to have it. And what we can afford is a huge issue. Security fencing and security cameras and all of that is going to be more than the $10,000 that we got.
Good.
But in any case, we are working on that. And I would say the biggest challenge for us, though, is not money. It's people who are willing to work with the homeless directly. There have been plenty of people who are donating food and clothing, which is a huge blessing. But to get somebody to come and be with the homeless, even to do a bingo game, is very, very difficult. People are afraid. And I understand that. There's mental health issues, there are drug issues. They are afraid. So it's been over a year that we've been working on this, and it is taking it a step at a time.
Can I mention one thing that this is it's an informative stage for me. And if we went around the table and I would ask you, how many people do you know that have moved either back into Bastrop or that have come to Bastrop that never lived here before? You can think of people who were your former classmates, your former students, people who lived in your neighborhood, friends. One of our good friends, your basketball player, just moved and bought a place out in Calhoun. People who are moving back here. Let's just take an instance of people who graduated from high school, went away to college. After college, they went and lived somewhere else, northeast, west, south. They had their productive years. They acquired property, raised families, retired, got that mailbox money coming. Y'all know what mailbox money is? It's there. You can depend on it. And they say, okay, I want to go back to Bastrop. First they remember Bastrop the way that it was and not the way that it is. They have this image in them. But anyway, they come back. They're buying in Face Estates. They're buying in Maplewood.
Right.
They're buying out on the Bonita Road, and they want the 3 or 4 acres, and they're here. And they're bringing a wealth, talent, experience, and a Rolodex or a contact list now. Got all kinds of skills. This is where I'm formulating. In my organization, I have a nonprofit and I have an LLC. And the acronym is for FOCOLA, F-O-C-O-L-A, Fulfilling Opportunities Coalition of Louisiana. What I want to do is get in touch with these folks who retired. Many of them are tired, they don't want to do anything, and that lasts for a while. but they are mental health people. They are folks with all kinds of skills. They are folks who worked in their communities with the homeless population, with foster children and all that kind of worked in education. They're looking for something to do, but they don't want a 9 to 5. Who might be willing to come in to sit, maybe prepare meals or do something in your homeless shelter. Who might be wanting to come and sit at the desk at an incubator. And I'm on the verge of mentally compiling my list, and I'm going to call them together and say, look, okay, you owe society, the world, your talent. You owe something to this community. So what are you willing to do, and I want to have a database and say, okay, Randy Williams needs somebody to come out and help him do this. Krista Fleming needs somebody to come. Or, does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yes. What's that saying that you phrase, coined, rent?
Service is the rent that I pay to stay here. Service is the rent that I pay to stay here. When you don't pay rent, what happens to you? So if I'm, in order to stay here, I need to keep giving service. So my real title in my thing is public service specialist. I specialize in giving public service. So as you talk about the things that you want to do, the untapped resource of the people around here and building networks, building coalitions, just like you did with this meeting. You're building a coalition of people who are similarly situated and have similar interests, and then pool that stuff and let's make stuff happen. I learned stuff by sitting right here talking to you.
Me too. Well, can we make a pact that this will be an advisory group for the city?
Or resource group.
A resource, great.
Well, I don't mean that, I just want to say this, and the thing is what you talked about, Ms. Hawkins, is people getting engaged. People don't like to get engaged. Now, we formed a Healthy Community Coalition. Well, there is a community, Morehouse Parish Healthy Community Coalition, I think. But we got a group of people that consists of LSU Ag, Tobacco Free Living, Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Society. We've started to form a healthy community group where we meet first Wednesday of the month. We're probably going to start, we've already met, but we're going to start meeting the first Wednesday of the month to talk about how we can help support our community. What talent you have, what can you bring to the table to help, and that's what we've already started.
That's
at our
great.
center.
Well, I would love to have this group as an advisory group for the city. And we can interact with the group that you have going. Does that make sense?
I can see where you're coming from.
I'm sorry. I'm on a committee that keep Morehouse beautiful, and we meet once a month. But we invited you to come to our meeting and have you to talk. We're not a negative committee at all. We are supportive thing of what can we help. And there's some working ladies, well, men too, working people on that committee. We meet once a month and we discuss things and how can we help city. You'll be surprised at things that we do better. We do things quite a bit around here. And I think as long as we keep it positive like that, Betty, we can just grow, Mayor, we can just grow, really. There's a lot of nice, positive things that Bastrop is doing. There's a lot of things that we're doing. But I found out with the youth that I deal with, they want to finish college and leave. And where you going, Houston? I said, stay here and help us. Why don't you help us if it's not what you want? But they want to go to another city and start up. I hear that all the time, and that's not good.
You know what? And that's so true.
That's
We
true.
serve as a launching pad to other places instead of retaining our
Right.
young folks here. And we got to promote what we have. And I'm going to say this, and we're going to turn the camera off so we can have lunch, and then we can continue to have the dialogue. But and there will be a part two. Mark, I'm going to task you with going around with each one of these facility owners. They'll walk you through, take pictures, and then we're going to post those pictures. We'll have this segment. Mr. Floyd, when are you going to air this segment on our website? Okay, and we're going to go to our website, meet the people who have purchased school buildings and are getting them retrofitted to fit a community need. So at this point,
Can I
we,
ask one question before we turn the camera off?
sure.
Mark, you mentioned something about young people. What is it that young people want to do?
Well, we got the Dawson back open,
Okay.
and that was a big thing. They love basketball, playing basketball.
Some do.
Yeah, and when we just opened that, what, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
So that's a big start right there. Teaching them, I think, with the VOTEC coming in, we shortage of mechanical, like fixing them cars and stuff. We don't want to have that. I think that if we can get that into our VOTEC, that'll be good. That'll be great.
Yeah, 'cause everybody drives cars and then finding somebody who knows how to operate the machines that they put on there. 'Cause that's a good point.
Yeah, more trades around.
Okay, so my dilemma is trying to figure out what people's value system is. What is it that they want to do? Right now, everybody around this table has at least one phone on them. At least one. Most kids, when you see them, their faces on the screen.
Oh, sure is.
But most kids don't know how to really take advantage of the capacity of this little device. Who is teaching kids how to really use the technology that's available? I'm working with a group right now out of Philadelphia. Mr. Floyd, who's on the camera, has had good. This group is willing to train somebody how to be trained in computer knowledge, installation, computer programming, computer repair, the whole 9 yards of that. To have somebody on the ground that can take advantage of the expertise that they have there. But I can't find anybody who's willing to be a subject and to benefit from that.
Getting people, like I said, engaged and involved in doing things that they want. And I'm working diligently on that to try to get that done, because that is important to get these kids. We got to find something to attract them, to bring them in. And once you bring them in, you got to go and do the teaching and do the educating them about what they need to be doing.
And more importantly, how do we get the parents to direct their children to take advantage of these things? Now, we know, we come from old school.
That's the problem.
We didn't have a lot of choice.
No, no.
You are going to go to church school, you're going to Bible school, you're going to go to this after-school program.
And you're going to pray at night before
So-
you went to sleep.
And say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and not have your pants sagging too. But how do we
That's
get
state of mind.
parents,
That's state of mind.
parents who are responsible
They need
for
to
these
understand.
children to direct them? So it's a whole values clarification thing that we got to deal with. We can offer anything in the world, and there is enough stuff out there for anybody to take advantage of.
That's true.
mental health piece, and I know I'm going on and on. Mr. Floyd, maybe when we off campus, might talk. His wife is into mental health, and there are ways that mental health services can be provided remotely. If Mr. Floyd, that's a valuable resource right there. So, and I'm pretty sure that she knows, or she can give directions to us, you, or whoever wants it, as to how to get mental health folks to be available in rural communities like that to provide the services that we need, which helps create the homelessness, which also is foundational in a lot of the crimes that we have and economic devastation that we have. So I'll try to stop.
Okay, at this point, we are going to sign off on camera and get ready for part 2, where Mark Moore is going to go on tour on site. And we're going to market all these facilities to let people know what's available. And as a wrap-up, Randy, what's the name of your facility?
Robinson Williams Restoration of Hope Community Center, 1510 Elm Street.
Okay. Ms. Evans?
Corey Evans, Evans Second Chance, 714 South Washington Street.
Mr. Anderson?
Southside Multi-Purpose Center,
Okay.
500 South Pantry.
And you are a subsidiary to Mr. Anderson, and your program is?
The Lighthouse Homeless Shelter.
Thank you for tuning in. We have a lot of resources here. Ms. Kay King is an economic development expert. She has a wealth of knowledge. We're going to be utilizing her, and former mayor, USDA director. Public servant. Okay, I like that. Okay.
Specialist.
We're going to put our talents together. Thank you, Mark. He's community outreach. So tune in for part 2. Thank you for joining us. Amen.